Hey guys, quick product review. This is the Outdoor Medical Adventure Kits SOL Scout Survival Kit. This is about a $20 to $25 item depending on where you get it. And this is a small outdoor survival kit for wilderness survival. And I've always been a fan over the years of keeping all my survival kits homemade. And this was actually a gift to me. And the person was kind of like, I hope you enjoy it, you know, like kind of thing. I know you have a lot of stuff, but, you know, you can never have enough stuff. Very true. So we're going to look at the gear in this and just talk a little bit about the philosophy of homemade kits versus store-bought. So let's take a look at this puppy. We'll open this up. And this comes in a little waterproof bag. A little wax, paper. It shows everything that comes with it, the contents and all that. Nothing too special, but it comes in a waterproof style bag and has some pretty nifty contents in here. And the cool part is you can actually add to this if you please. So it's not. Let's see, what we have here is we have some instructions for the signal mirror, which are pretty important if you've never used one before, because they can be a little tricky to use. We got the bag, which, as you mentioned, a little waterproof bag, which will help you if you need to carry some water with you or whatever. But judging on how thin this is and this plastic in the front here, it wouldn't survive hard use, but it is better than nothing. We have some re-rolled duct tape, a couple feet of that. Always very handy in a wilderness situation. We have a little tiny, teeny fishing kit. And this has some hooks, lines, sinkers, swivels, and I believe there's a couple of safety pins in here too. I love this. This is something I'm probably going to scavenge out of this kit and mix in with some of my other kits. This is actually a really nice size and container for a fishing kit. Because typically I use the Altoid mini cans for my fishing kits, so this is a little more compact. I really do like this. It's kind of neat. Haven't used it, but, fishing gear is fishing gear. We have some of these little tinder things. I would probably replace this, given its size, with an Esbit tablet. The Esbit tablet will burn 8 to 10 minutes and will boil water. These are only going to burn like 2 to 3 minutes a piece. So even if you stick them all out at once, you might get 5 minutes. Probably won't boil water, so in my opinion, I'd replace that out with an Esbit tablet or some military trioxane or something along that line. Here we have the little signal mirror. As you can see, there's also a little film on it that you take off. We're going to leave that on, but basically, you hold it up and use that to find your target, and neat little piece of gear. I like the size on it. It's actually pretty small. You won't be able to signal very far with something this small. Replacing that out with a slightly bigger one may not be a bad idea. This slimline rescue howler. Very neat little product. Pretty small too. I like how small that is. And it's I know they're pretty loud because I actually have one of these in my gear somewhere else. So they're pretty loud, and a whistle is a really important piece of gear, guys, because one time I was out backpacking, and one of the guys in our group did get lost, and we could hear him yelling, and he was quite a distance away, and by the time we found him, he'd actually lost his voice, and was just kind of like panicking. So having a whistle, big deal. It's a really big deal, because you wouldn't believe it. It doesn't take maybe like an hour of yelling for help. You'll completely lose your voice. And when you lose your voice and you're out in the woods alone, I mean, that's your main means of finding people and finding help. So I think a whistle's a really big deal. And this one, the size of this thing is incredible. And it's pretty loud too. So, little button compass. Not such a big deal for me because, of course, I carry a compass on my keychain as well all the time. So I've already got one on me to begin with. But you can never have too many compasses. So just a little button compass. Space blanket. This is your shelter. This is your rain poncho. This is, you know, probably one of the most important pieces of survival gear. I mean, if I had to pick 3 things out of this that I'd keep, it'd be this sparker, this poncho, and that whistle. Those are probably the 3 most important to get you out of a situation fast. Space blankets, you can get these things for like $1. You can find them in dollar stores, online. You can buy them in bulk. I buy these in bulk because I use these all the time. I use them in my sleeping bags. I use them, you know, as rain ponchos. For how small and how lightweight they are, they're very disposable. You know, go on to Amazon, guys, buy like 10 of these suckers. So that way, if you're using this kit or you're practicing with this kit, you won't feel like, oh, I don't want to use this. You know, go out and buy a whole bunch of these things so you're not afraid to use them. And last is this little sparker. Not a bad, nifty little tool. Get a little close up on this bad boy so you can see it. I like how compact it is. And of course, I also carry my normal keychain kit. I carry my little Boy Scout striker that I actually found on a trail. And I also keep my little split pea lighter from County Comp. So I automatically always have a couple ways to make a fire on me. But what we're going to do is turn down the lights and hope we can see the sparks off this. There we go. Produces a pretty good spark, so it's definitely something serviceable in the field. So there we go. That is the kit. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is like a $20 kit. Now let's talk a little bit about the homemade kit versus store-bought. Of course, when you go with a homemade kit, you can put gear into it that you really enjoy, that you know how to use, you're familiar with, and that you like. However, lots of times these store-bought kits provide a little more portability that you can't get with the homemade kits. So there is kind of a trade-off. For example, you know, finding a container like this that you can put a fishing kit in, it's kind of tough. You know, like, yeah, you can occasionally find some like little candy things or makeup things that you can use for something like this. But sometimes when you buy these from the in the kits, the little containers that they have are actually pretty handy. So, you know, if you're buying different kits, you know, sometimes it's just nice to have like one little thing out of that kit just to put into your other kits. But the good thing is with these store-bought ones, you can customize it. With this particular kit, I would probably add a Fresnel lens as another source of ignition, and you know, maybe a small razor blade or a small pocket knife, like a really tiny pocket knife. Jam it into this bag. Also, I added a couple Ziplocs to this as well. That way you got some more water portability. You can store some more water in it. So, but lots of neat stuff you can do with these. Lots of fun. Great practice items. But I do it like most of my kits are homemade. I just take, you know, bits of gear from wherever, you know, when a roll of duct tape gets towards the end or whatever, I'll re-roll it and put these things together and put them in little bags and Ziplocs sometimes, or, you know, little pouches I get from the Army Navy store. I've always used them and been pretty successful. But, you know, the big key to this is practicing with the gear, making sure you can use it, making sure it works well. So, whatever works for you. If the store-bought ones work for you, if the homemade one works for you, it's great. You know, I prefer the homemade ones, but this is not a bad little kit at all. It covers, you know, shelter, signaling, fire, navigation, and to a small extent, food gathering. And you could probably even consider this medical. You know, you throw a couple Band-Aids in here, maybe a couple Neosporin packets. You know, you're in pretty good shape. So you could do quite a bit with this, especially if you replace this out with a bigger space blanket or something like that, or even upgrade. But having these neat little things, I've bought so many of these little kits over the years and pilfered from them. Like I might, you know, this is something like I already have one of these, but this is something that'll probably end up in another kit. This is something that'll end up in, you know, a lot of these things will end up in other kits and not just left in this. So I tend to scavenge them and mix and match and go with what works for me. So with that said, do what works for you. Practice, practice, practice. Never stop practicing with this stuff.